JD here, and as you can see, we are back on F1 23 once again. And in today's video, we are going to be showing a full 25% race that I did recently in one of my open lobbies. And I have to say, this is probably the most competitive race I have done so far on this game. And we're just going to be showing every single lap here, just giving my thoughts, talking through it. And before we really get underway, make sure you visit Instant Gaming for some amazing discounts on F1 23, both the Standard and Championship Edition, but also many other games as well. And if you do purchase something from Instant Gaming through the link in the description, I will be giving you a discount in my one-to-one coaching that will be starting next week. But moving back to this race here, there are some very fast drivers in this lobby. Jarne Dobson, aka Moonfall, K. Kalkowski, if I just said that or absolutely butchered it, one of the fastest drivers on PlayStation, along with Carl24, Sniped SB, and Schumacher 1. These are, I'd say, probably in the top 10 fastest drivers on the PlayStation platform. So this was definitely going to be a pretty big test for me, because so far haven't really been going against any insanely high-level drivers. People I know who are definitely going to be a good benchmark to go against. So I was quite interested to know where I was at in terms of my pace. And I'm very pleased to confirm that I will be returning to League Racing, playing on PlayStation. League will be confirmed shortly, but it is a very competitive grid, and I haven't done any League Racing for a good 6 months or so, mainly because I just wasn't enjoying it on the previous game. And that's very strange for me to say, because I've been League Racing for the last 10 years, so it's actually been a fairly big part of my life from a competitive standpoint, and something I've just absolutely loved to do. And like, my thoughts remain the same. I've really thoroughly been enjoying this game. I feel it definitely does suit my driving style a lot more than some of the recent games. I think really the last game that I felt I was really at my potential at was F1 2018 or potentially F1 2020. Felt like I was on a very good level on those games. 21, 22 felt like I never really got close to hitting my peak, and probably because I just didn't want to play as much as I would. But I can already feel this game that I'll be spending a lot of hours on this, and just the online lobbies have been really fun so far. And again, thank you everyone who has been hitting that join button and participating in these lobbies. Hopefully you haven't been enjoying it, and if you do want to be part of these, then make sure you join my YouTube subscription, becoming a YouTube member. You'll get priority invite into these lobbies. Also be getting a one-to-one discount on my coaching. So thank you so much to everyone who has been a part of that. And also just to announce that I have released the Ultimate Coaching Bundle. So if you'd like 10 one-to-one 90-minute sessions with me for a very significant discount, make sure you head over to www.coachlimitless.com. But as you can see, this race here, pretty much most people have started on the medium tyres, and there's been a lot of debate on what the optimal tyre temperatures are. But something I found is that the operating window is actually quite big in terms of the tyre. And for me, I feel like my most optimal is really in the high 90s, maybe low 100s. But of course, when you're in a league racing scenario or 25% or 35% race, you've got to factor in that you will be going on a harder compounder tyre. So the tyre that you'll be spending the most amount of time on is probably the one you want to be prioritizing the most, or you just have to accept that you will be sacrificing one particular stint to maximize. So it might mean that if you're going on softs at the end of a race, you want to be maybe managing the temperatures a bit more, or vice versa. So that's something really to play around with. Depends what your main focus of your strategy is, but I will be covering that in many more videos to come. And obviously when I'm doing my league racing myself, this is something I will be showcasing in my live streams. But you can see doing a pretty nice move up into turn one here. As Johnny got a little bit deep in, so pushing me out wide. So I've been a little bit Verstappen going into that turn one, but making good progress so far in this race. And this up here is exactly the same as my time trial. The only difference I've done, and in the hot lap and set video, is that I've just lowered the rear pressures to 1 or 2 clicks above the minimum, but the front tyres are on minimum pressures. And yeah, it feels good to be in the high 90s for me on the medium tyres or the harder compound, and then don't really want to be exceeding 105, 106 degrees too much when you come to the softest compound of tyre. That's something that's been really working well so far, and as you can see here, I think the pace is looking quite strong, and this is quite a good benchmark to be going against as well. You can see Schumacher_1 probably in the top 3 fastest drivers on PlayStation. And I myself, qualifying is still definitely an area to focus on, but I haven't really been preparing myself that much for league racing just yet. But in terms of the race pace is feeling really, really nice. Being able to manage the tyres, the ERS, and the tyre temperatures very nice. And you can see we're creating a little bit of a gap to the guys behind. But right now I'm just thinking about trying to really save my ERS as much as possible, because it is very, very powerful on this game with the overtake button. So at this moment I thought maybe there was a chance to break out of that DRS, because the DRS is also very, very powerful. So I think I'm gonna maybe potentially just try and break it here, but we just missed this apex here, which has really unsettled us for the rest of it, running on this curb a bit too much. And you can see we're still pushing with the ERS, trying to break out of it, because I think I was running a little bit lower downforce than the cars around me. But the detection point will be coming up after this next right-hander, and yeah, we're using it here, but unless we get a really good right-hander, which we do quite well, yeah, the detection point is there. So he's going to get the DRS, which is right about here, and yeah, we just got to really conserve it. But sometimes it is good to use that ERS just to put a little bit of distance between yourself and other drivers, because the DRS is just so powerful. You really ideally want to try and maintain a 5 to 6 tenth gap, otherwise you will be at risk from being overtaken from car behind. So I'm just trying to create as big a gap as I possibly can. You can see he's really closed it in, so I'm not going to be using any of the battery. We go down here, the gap was about 4 tenths to half a second. Was going to do the fastest lap, but then Yone has completed, and then Snipes SB has also now done the fastest lap of the race. So just got to conserve this battery as much as we possibly can, and that's really going to be a big factor when it comes to league racing, is trying to conserve your battery as much as possible and maintaining that track position. Because in 5 lappers and very short races, it's very tempting to use the battery, but then you put yourself in a very vulnerable position coming towards the end of the race. But you can see again, maintaining that half a second gap, so pace is still looking really good at this stage. You can see the tyre temperatures are hovering around the high 90s for the rear, and the fronts are mid to high 90s as well. So this is what feels really good to me. And again, when it comes to league racing and longer races, you do have to factor in that you will be going, or will be using, a softer compound of tyre. Most of the time it's going to be a lot more beneficial to start on a harder compound with that alternate strategy, because your tyres are going to be fresher at the end. Under softer compound, they are very, very powerful. And unless you were starting maybe in pole position on the front row, most of the time you will be starting either on a hard or medium tyre. And you can see we're playing a little bit chicken with this DRS now, so letting Yoni get that, and was probably going to stay behind him, but for some reason decided to actually overtake him here. So we're going to try and get back on that racing line, but then he wasn't going to go to the inside, so managing to retake the P1 again. So probably should have maybe just stayed behind him. Don't know why I really did that so much, but anyway, we decided to do that. And you can see again, the tyre temperatures aren't really fluctuating that much, so I'll be aiming for the high 90s on a harder compound tyre, and then low to mid 100 to 107. So ideally maybe 103, 105 degrees at max on a soft tyre is what I'll be looking for, because otherwise they will slowly but surely start to overheat. But see, again, tyre wear isn't too bad, so 28% right now. So the undercut, is very powerful on this game as well. So it's a lot more powerful than it was in F122. However, having fresher tyres is also a lot more powerful. So your in and out laps are going to be very important. You really want to decide how much battery you save. Again, I'm always going to try and save as much battery as possible. So really try and, when you practice, work in your raw pace as much as possible without using the ERS. And your ERS is just something extra in your armory. So use a little bit here and there just to maintain the track position. So we're going to follow Yoni in, because I think if I went on for another lap, he'd probably be undercutting me by 2 or so seconds. And you can see a lot of other guys have pitted as well. So the ERS runs out very quickly, so track position is also very important. So we decided to mirror his strategy, but you can see he's actually gone on the hard tyre, which I'm pretty sure was a mistake from him. So he probably didn't select the soft compounder tyre by accident or something like that. So we're going to come out here, and you can see Snipes SB, he did pit a lap or so before us, along with Carl. You can see how much of an undercut that is. Carl started on the softs, now he's on the mediums, but look at that undercut, look how much of a gap he has. But now we are on the superior softer tyre with less laps to do, and the more the fuel goes down, the longer the race goes on, the less the wear is. So that's why it's probably a lot more beneficial to start on a harder compound of tyre. But you can see we're just going to cruise up to the back of Yoni here. We have Kawalski behind us, who again is a very, very fast driver. So I want to try and maintain my battery as much as I possibly can. So using a little bit, you can see just a little burst here and there just really help the momentum, but you don't want to be using it over a second or something like that. So just use a little bit you need, show the guy behind that you are using it, and then that will most likely deter him from using it. So using a little bit again, but then turning it off. So this little burst, the strategy we're using with the EF, so there's quick bursts of that ERS, is a really good strategy where you're not going to overuse it and still be able to maintain a pretty decent level. So really got to try and get past Yoni here as much as we can, create a bit of a gap between myself and the Mercedes. So we're using it here now, trying to get back onto the race line, but then we do try and turn it off and go into so many breaks super late, and there is absolutely nowhere to go through into here. We've got an illegal overtake for that as well, so we have to concede the position, and that's going to put a little bit of a dent into our progress. So we've wasted a little bit of ERS, more ERS than I would have ideally liked. So he's going to fight this, because, you know, although the softs are very strong, they do go off quite quickly. So his harder compounder tyre might actually be a factor coming towards the end of this race, because they do go off very quickly. And that's why I think most of the time you'll probably be seeing a hard to medium strategy for most league races that are 35 or, you know, definitely 50% races. You could stretch it to a hard to soft, but you really got to make sure you have superior raw pace. And that's why I really encourage you to try and practice without using your ERS. Try and maximize your raw pace as much as you can. But you can see Carl, the leader, has a 3-second time penalty and created a bit of a gap to Kowalski behind. So using that DRS, not going to be using the battery. We actually turned off the DRS here because we don't want to force him to defend and to slow us down even more. So just go reset ourselves up nicely, coming off the exit of here. So using a bit of the boost again, but then we are going to turn it off quite early. So just as we get to start finish time, we're now going to turn it off to make sure we definitely get the move done. And we was thinking about going inside again, but you can see how much straight line speed we have. And again, I was pretty sure I was running a little bit of a lower downforce than some of these guys behind. So right now I'm just thinking about the final lap or so of the race. So just trying to maintain this level of battery as much as I can, because I knew Yerny was probably going to be overtaken by the Mercedes. So we've got to try and close in on Carl as much as we can. And you can see behind, the Mercedes is going to get past. And I suspected that with the higher level of downforce and him using the battery there, that he was probably going to be in a pretty equal position in terms of the battery. So coming through into here, just try and get a really good run into the straight, which you do. We get a very nice run. Not going to be using the battery here, but you can see here is the DRS, and we're probably just going to put a car between myself and Kowalski behind, get this move done. And on the exit of this corner, are we going to be using any of the battery? I think the answer is no, because there is another detection point on the exit of the final corner. So we will go and let Carl have a submission, because succeed, just making it a little less, because I really want to make sure I get the DRS coming onto straight. Otherwise, he would have just gone straight back past me. So using a bit of the battery. Now we're going to be turning it off again. Is he going to fire? So I can see his red light was flashing, but he's actually screen freeze behind, which is a bit unfortunate for him. Definitely something that needs to be fixed for crossplay is the screen freezes, where someone leaves or joins the lobby. It does kind of really disrupt the flow of the racing, but hopefully they do fix that in the next upcoming patch. And now we have Kowalski behind, and I'm not really going to be using much battery here to make a little bit of an error here. So just turning a little bit fraction too early. Don't really want to be mounting these curbs, otherwise they will be grinding you off the circuit. But yeah, right now, really probably don't want to be the car leading going into this last lap. So I'm just going to try and conserve my battery as much as I can. Only use it if I need to defend from Carl 24, because he's the third man in the DS train. I don't want to be overtaking two cars, just one for the final lap. So a little boost here and there if we need to use it. Otherwise, we are going to try and conserve this battery as much as we can. So coming into here, the sector 3, really do love this corner. And you can see there's a bit of a gap to car behind, so I'm not going to be using the battery at all here. I'm just going to conserve it as much as I can. And these are the things I'm really thinking about. When you're driving, just try and actually think a bit more of the long game. You can see playing chicken with the DRS again. Try and get a good launch. So I want to be the car behind, and I don't want to really be overtaking him on this next lap. So you can see we actually turned off the DRS, actually bump drafting him down the straight a little bit. And since Carl has a 3-second penalty, I didn't think you'd be trying to interfere too much within this race. And Schumacher has a 6-second time penalty, so I was pretty confident that they wouldn't be interfering. And my job now is just to try and stay as close as I can to Kowalski, as we do have the same freshness of tyre. And I was pretty confident that I'd be having a lot more ERS in him at this stage of the race, considering he is running higher wings, or it seems like he's running definitely a little bit more high downforce than me. So we're going to probably use a little boost up here, so you can see a little boost again, just to get that momentum at something that's, I think, very underrated. So just a fraction boost here and there can just really give you a little bit of difference. But this is where we should be fast. So another boost of the ERS, but you will see how powerful this DRS actually is. And he's had a little bit of a screen freeze himself, so we're actually going to let him have this position. So we are not going to overtake him here, but now we've actually got ahead of him because there's screen freeze. But there is a detection point on the exit of the final corner, so we're not going to be using any of the battery, because I actually wanted him to kind of overtake me at this stage. But coming through into here, starting the last lap of this race, we're not going to be really using any battery coming off the exit onto this last lap, because I want him to overtake me. I really want that DRS for that final sector, because I was very confident in my straight line speed. So we're going to let him have this, try and deter Carl from overtaking. So a little bit of oversteer under the braking here, but now we've got to try and stay as close as we can coming into this final sector 3. And we have about almost 60% of the battery, so a very good amount of ERS to use. And I think that's again because we've just been using that little burst strategy, so not trying to hold it for too long. You can see he ran out wide here, so it's really disrupted his momentum. And we've got a little bit of a gap to the car behind as well. So looking pretty good for this final lap. But you can see there is a car up ahead, a ghost car or maybe a lap car, who might be giving him that DRS, which is really, really annoying. So I think it's actually a car that's disconnected from the lobby. But we get a pretty good right-left-hander coming up here. But he is going to get the DRS, but that straight line speed. So turning it off, and yes, he has got the DRS, but you can see our straight line speed is just superior with those lower wings. So really crucial that we get a good exit coming here, which we do. using that ERS. And now let's see what our straight on speed is. So now he doesn't have the DRS, and we are just going to go for this overtake. Try and put as much distance as we possibly can, because we still have 34% of the battery to use. So making sure we get a really good exit coming off this last corner. The ERS is so powerful. The DRS doesn't quite into play just yet. And that is going to be us taking the win in this race. A really good test to see kind of the level where I am at right now. And I think when I definitely start focusing on league racing, qualifying for specific tracks, then I'm feeling very, very confident on this game. Thank you so much for the support on the channel. Make sure you hit that join button to get my updated setups. I will be continuing my hot lap and setup series, but I have already uploaded some of my setups in my YouTube member Discord. So if you'd like to get early access to them, make sure you head over there. Make sure you head over to www.coachlimitless.com if you'd like a one-to-one 90-minute session with me. And I'll be catching you very, very soon. Peace.